Hi, welcome back, my dear student. In this lecture here, we are going to be learning about static modifiers. And I hope you feel really excited because what you're learning here is going to help you get ahead in life. And, if you know how to use this knowledge, you can either make a lot of money or you can progress in your current job or find a new job. All right? So I'm really happy that I'm able to teach you this, and I'm going to do my best so that you can understand it easily. Now, let's go ahead and talk about static modifiers. Let's first do a save as on this class underscore access.php document. Let's call this static modifier. All right, there we go. Now, let me first tell you, because I'm going to explain the syntax and how to use it, but let me explain to you what the difference is between a regular property and a static property. Because we can attach the static functionality to a property or a function. All right, so we can make a method. We can make it static, and we can also make a property static. The difference between a property, a regular property, and a static property is that the regular property is attached to the instance, meaning that you always have to use an instance to get that property, to use that property. For the static modifier property, you don't need an instance, so you refer to it by the class name. All right, so it's attached to the class instead of being attached to the instance. I'm going to show you how it works. So right now I'm just going to delete both of this, actually just this one, and I'm going to take this private keyword out of there and just name it static. This is the way that you declare a property static. So you're telling PHP this is a static property now, PHP, and PHP is okay, that's fine, thank you so much for letting me know, right? So now for us to use that property, let me just take this off out of here, right here, and then, so let's say for example, I want to use a wheel count, right? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna echo it out on the screen. Let's just make this a little bigger there. So we can see that it's echoing out the 4. Now let's go ahead and try to echo the door count and see what happens. All right. Well, we get an error, right? Undefined property. Now this is because we made this property static already. So PHP is actually listening, trying to find out, looking for a static property, but it can't find it. I mean, looking for a regular property and it can't find it. It finds one of these, which is a static, and it says, listen, this is undefined. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, you telling me about an instance that you want to see a regular property here with an instance, and then you are defining a static. So it gets confused. It's like, listen, it's not going to work, right? So now, in order for us to see this, to use it, we got to use it in a different format. Instead of using the instance, we got to use the class name. In this case, it's cars. And then the syntax, instead of using the hyphen or in the arrow, we use 2 double dots like this. And then remember that here we don't use the dollar sign, but in the static modifier format, we have to use the dollar sign. All right. So hopefully you can see that very clearly there. All right. So this is the difference right here. All right. One is attached to the instance, and we have to use the hyphen and the greater than symbol with no dollar sign. And the other one, we got to use the name of the class to let it know that what class is attached to, and 2 double dots with the dollar sign. So it's totally different format. So don't get confused. We don't need an instance anymore. I can delete all this, refresh right here, make sure that it's the right class, and as you can see, I can still print it out on the screen, and I'm not even using an instance anymore. All right. So I also told you that we can attach this to a method. It's very true. So look what happens if I attach this to a method. So I'm going to make this method static now. Let's call this method here. So let's call this. So how do we call this method now? Can you pause the video and maybe you try to figure it out. Super simple. All right. So anyway, I'm just gonna do it here. Hopefully you pause the video and thought about it for a minute. So I got the method right here. I got the name of the method, right? So how do we call the static method? The same way we call that a static property, right? We use the name, two dots, and of course semicolon. Now of course we don't need a dollar sign because this is just a method. This is not a property, right? We come here and we refresh. Actually, there is another thing that I wanted to also let you know, which I forgot. Sorry about that. Is that we don't need the this pseudo variable here anymore because we are not using an instance. This is when we are using an instance. Here, remember that this is a static method now. So we need to use static information inside this method. So we need to use the same format that we use down here to refer to this is inside the class, the method, right? So as you can see here, I gotta use the name of the class, the two double dots, and the dollar sign. Refresh. Oops. And also make sure that you have your properties are set to static. Okay, I gotta get going. I'm gonna go and get my coffee after this. I promise. Yes, I am. C count. There we go. There we go. All right. So make sure that the property is static and it's not a regular. It's not set to public, private, or protected. Make sure that your methods are static. If you're using static data inside, right? Make sure your format is correct. And remember, we don't need an instance to call this information to use it. So that's the static modifier there in a very brief video. And you will be able to use this later on when you understand a little bit more about it and how we use them in object-oriented programming. It's super useful. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I see you in the next one. Take care.